Can anybody hear us? We are muted.
No, they can't hear.
We can hear you now. I couldn't hear you before.
All right, well, we've referenced that all three of you are online, so we've been able to take the attendance, but you can hear us now?
Yes.
Great, all right. Well, you noticed that we stood, so we went through items 1, 2, and 3 on the agenda. So now we'll move to item 4, which is request for approval of the minutes from the work session and evening meeting on April 20th.
Madam Mayor, I just wanted to note that I didn't notice that you stood, and so I apologize for not joining for the moment of silence and pledge of allegiance.
Councilmember, I thought you were at a standing desk because you were looking right at us. And so I just figured you were at a standing desk, but thanks, that's noted.
Madam Mayor,
Yes,
I move approval of the minutes of the work session and regular meetings of April 20th, 2021.
Second.
we have a motion, a second. Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Clegg,
Yes.
Halliburton,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Woodings,
Yes.
Agent,
Yes.
all in favor, motion carries.
So next up, we have special business. The first 3 items are reappointments of members to the Parks Committee for terms ending May 2024, and that includes Angela Johnson, John Ruzicka, and Eric Stidham. I want to thank them all for their service prior to this and their willingness to continue to serve in another term. And with that, I'd take a unanimous consent request.
Madam Mayor, I ask unanimous consent for the reappointments of Angela Johnson, John Ruzicka, and Eric Stidham to the Parks and Recreation Commission for 3-year terms ending in March of 2024.
Without objection. Oh, great. Well, John, we see that you're here. You can actually say thanks yourself if you would like. You can be any of the 3, Angela Johnson, John Ruzicka, or Eric Stidham. If you're with us, you're welcome to say something.
Oh, there we go. Did that turn on? This is John.
Yes, we can hear you,
Yes, we
John.
can hear you, John.
Okay, great. Yeah, this is very, I'm very appreciative of this opportunity. This will be my 3rd term. And I just love working with Parks and Rec. I work for the Boise School District, and so we do a lot, as you guys know, together as a district and city. And so it's just a great partnership. And so I appreciate the opportunity to serve. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Madam
you.
Mayor.
Madam Mayor.
I just want to thank John, Angela, and Eric. I've had the honor of being one of the liaisons to Parks and Rec for my time on council. And I just want to let you know how much I appreciate the care that you take in listening to feedback and to the community, especially when it comes to issues of diversity, inclusion, and equity. I find it to be very moving, the work that Parks and Rec does and the care and consideration that our commissioners bring to the work. Thank you so much for agreeing to serve.
Thank you, John. Is anybody else present?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay. With that, we'll move. Thank you, John. Have a great night. With that, we'll move to item number 4. This is our public health order. The changes in this order include the fact that masks are voluntary, so not required inside. We're still outside, excuse me, still requiring masks and distancing inside, as well as management rules at the airport. And then finally, just want to highlight the events over 50 are allowed in cooperation with Central District Health's willingness to oversee plans and help organizations or individuals that want to have events over 50 and be able to develop healthy plans and then get those approved.
Madam Mayor, I move approval of Resolution 180-21, the ratification of Public Health Emergency Order 20-16 enacted April 28th, 2021.
Second.
A motion, a second discussion?
Madam Mayor.
Yes,
Go for it.
yes.
Just a comment that I look forward to seeing our restrictions continue to ease over the course of the summer. And the reason I look forward to that is because I know that you will do it based on good data, reasoned policy, good evidence, and good, solid community interested judgment. So I am looking forward to seeing your public orders relaxed because I know based on how you've approached this and how hard you've worked over the last year, that your decision to do that will truly be a sign that we're coming out of this. So I see this slight relaxing of the order as a step in the right direction for our community, because you've done the hard work to determine it's justified. And as we go through the summer, I hope to see more of these. And when I see them, it will be because I know you've done a very good job, as you have all year, in putting the interest of Boise first and putting our public health first. So thank you. And I look forward to the next set of orders as well.
Oh, Councilman, thank you. I really appreciate that. And I want to say that I'm able to do this. And, I'm making these calls. It's not just me. It really is with the advice and counsel of Central District Health, whose partnership we truly value. And in making the decisions to unwind a little bit, I spoke with the medical directors of every hospital system in the Valley, as well as businesses. We want to do this right so that our businesses remain open, their employees remain healthy. And I too look forward to gradual unwinds in the weeks and months to come.
Madam Mayor, like Councilmember Bajent, I just want to thank you and the mayor's office for being so thorough, proactive, database decisions, looking after our business community, and then thank my fellow council members. I think I'm proud of our work, what we've done so far, and knowing that we're not quite out of the woods yet, but we're able to take some steps, and I think that's exciting. I think the reason that we're able to take some of those steps is because we have been smart and we haven't had to move too far back in the other direction. And then the other thing I just wanted to mention is I do get so many folks from the business community reaching out in support of these as their business are beginning to grow and people are coming back. They want to make sure that people do feel comfortable and that they are, able to go back and engage with our community safely. And so I think that the city supporting these efforts mean a lot to our business community. And I'm excited to see some of the things becoming more safe and able to do. So thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Sure, let's go first with the Council President Pro Tem and then Councilmember Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I too want to echo my colleagues in thanking you for taking these steps and for being measured as we move forward. I got a little scared myself a couple of weeks ago. I think I felt a sense of security with my first shot. My second one's coming. But I realized I had kind of relaxed a little bit and I caught a cold. And I went and I got my test, my COVID test. Luckily, it was negative, but it was a reminder of how I still have to be mindful, still have to do the hand washing, still have to wear the mask. So we're not safe yet. And so I appreciate the fact that we are being mindful as we move forward and as we get to that point where we are free to let go of these. And hopefully everybody will follow through and get their vaccination so that we can return to not normal, but to better than we were before. So thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I agree with everything that's been said. I only wanted to really highlight, and Council Member Sanchez just did at the end there, but really encourage everyone that's eligible, which is everyone over a certain age limit, to go get their 2 vaccines or 1 vaccine if it meets the profile of the shot, and so that we can really get to a point where these restrictions will lift based on one of those major factors, that everyone is getting their vaccines, and it puts us in a better spot as a city. So I know all 7 of us have either had our second or scheduled here very soon, and hopefully that sets a good example for the rest of the community. And again, just encourage everyone to go get those eligible shots that are free and available now.
Madam Mayor,
Yeah, go ahead.
not to tack too much onto the vaccine conversation, but I just want to point out that we're 4th among Idaho's 44 counties for vaccine adoption right now. And I would really like to see us move into first place, because I'm a little bit competitive and I think that we can do it. I know that St. Luke's has no appointment vaccine clinics. You can just walk in and get vaccinated now. So really a lot of the barriers have been taken down. And like my fellow council members, I encourage everyone to go out and get vaccinated so that we can be in a little bit safer place moving forward.
Madam Mayor.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you, as everyone has said, for your proactive approach to this. I'd like to also thank the citizens of Boise. I think if you look around the state of Idaho, look around the country, it's clear that in places where citizens took it seriously and have been doing the things they can, that we're able to move forward faster with relaxing of these standards. And I, like Councilmember Bajent, look forward to them being relaxed even more. And I look forward to that because I'm confident that our citizenry are serious about this, as well as our government, and that we will get to a point where things will be, if not normal, at least much closer to normal. And thank you, everyone who's been doing your part to make that so. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you all. And Council President, thank you for jumping in to thank the Boiseans because that it is really our community that's been in partnership with us throughout all of this, and the willingness to be vigilant, to pay attention to the protocols, and to help us when it comes to providing suggestions for how we can make more things happen. It has been really important. It's really been a game changer for us, and it's all of you too. You as 6 council people that, for the last year we've been at this trying to figure out how best to do it. Always with our kind of through line has been protect people and protect business, and through that we will protect our community and recover more resiliently. And there's an article that came out today called "Let's Make This the Summer of Fun" in City Lab. I encourage people to take a look at it because we are making progress, and we've also learned how to do things differently. So we're seeing events being proposed at the botanical gardens, farmers markets that will likely start to happen, concert series at Jump, more events at the Boise Center, pools will open this summer because we know so much more. There are things that we're able to do that we all ought to celebrate because it's our time to come back together, while remembering that we just still need to be careful so that we don't end up unwinding. And it's with all that in mind that we'll be making the next calls, because we review these orders every 30 days. So thank you all. With that, I think we had a motion, we had discussion. So now clerk, will you call the roll?
Clegg,
Thanks.
Yes.
Halliburton,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Woodings,
Yes.
Bajent,
Yes.
all in favor, motion carries.
Thank you, everybody. So next up, hi, Celine. We've got a reconsideration request. I'll let you take it from there.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, council members. As you'll recall, you approved a rezone with a development agreement on March 16th for a mixed-use building on 4th and Idaho. You adopted the findings on April 6th. Last week, we received a request to reconsider your decision, which was in your packet this evening. Doesn't seem that there was any new information, so the planning team is recommending denial of the request. Ultimately, it's your decision, and if you do approve, we'll be sure to go through the proper procedures.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I reviewed the reconsideration request, the lengthy request in its entirety, and my conclusion was that they didn't object to the result. They just wanted us to essentially reconsider the decision for the purpose of stating it again in a different way or in a more detailed way. I reviewed the basis of our decision and I thought it was adequate, and so I will not be making a motion for reconsideration tonight.
Well, for lack of a motion to reconsider, the request is considered denied. All right, thank you all. It always feels like there should be one step after the person trying to move forward. But thank you for considering that request. Next up, we have the consent agenda. All items with an asterisk are considered to be routine by the council and will be enacted by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion on these items unless a council member or member of the public so requests, in which case it will be removed from the agenda and considered in its normal sequence.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Clegg,
Yes.
Halliburton,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Woodings,
Yes.
Bajent,
Yes.
all in favor, motion carries.
Thank you. Next up, we have ordinances. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 on the first reading.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I ask unanimous consent that all ordinances on first reading be read by number and title only and filed for the second reading calendar.
Without objection.
ORD 22-21, an ordinance amending Title 11, Chapter 8, Section 3, Subsection 2, Boise City Code to clarify flood protection elevation requirement for electrical heating, ventilation, plumbing, air conditioning, and other service facilities and providing an effective date. ORD 23-21, an ordinance amending Title 11, Chapter 3, Review and Decision Procedures of Boise City Code to update standards and establish a review process for demolition activities and providing an effective date. ORD 24-21, an ordinance CAR 21-00004 for property located at 2007 South Saturn Way, amending zoning classifications of the city of Boise City to change the classification of real property, particularly described in section 1 of this ordinance from C-1D Neighborhood Commercial with Design Review to C-3D Service Commercial with Design Review, setting forth a reasoned statement in support of such zone change and providing an effective date. ORD 25-21, an ordinance repealing and replacing Title II, Chapter 8, Section 5, Arts and History Commission Duties and Responsibilities, Boise City Code. This ordinance updates the roles and responsibilities of the Boise City Arts and History Commission and providing an effective date.
Next up, we have ordinances 16 through 2021 on second reading.
Madam Mayor, I ask unanimous consent that all ordinances on the second reading calendar be read by number and title only and filed for the third reading calendar.
Without objection.
ORD 16-21, an ordinance CAR 20-00024 for property located at 3805 North Cole Road, amending zoning classifications of the city of Boise City to change the classification, of real property, particularly described in section 1 of this ordinance from R-1CH, single family residential with historic district overlay, to A-1H, open lands with historic district overlay, setting forth a reasoned statement in support of such zone change and providing an effective date. ORD 17-21, an ordinance de-annexing 6.22 acres of certain lands and territory located within Boise, Ada County, Idaho, near Lake Moore subdivision, setting forth a reasoned statement in support of the de-annexation, directing the city engineer to lodge and file a legal description and map of the de-annexed lands and territory, directing that copies of this ordinance shall be filed with the Ada County Auditor, the Ada County Treasurer, the Ada County Assessor, the Ada County Recorder, and the Idaho State Tax Commission, providing that a copy of legal description and map of the de-annexed lands and territory be recorded with the Ada County Recorder and filed with the Ada County Assessor and the Idaho State Tax Commission as required by law and providing an effective date. ORD 18-21, an ordinance reaffirming Boise City's declaration that certain real property owned by the city adjacent to Lake Moore subdivision located in Boise, Ada County, Idaho, with an area of approximately 6.22 acres is underutilized or not used for public purposes, authorizing the conveyance of the defined real property to the city of Eagle for certain improvements, namely a buffer zone for the West Boise Water Renewal Plant, expanded park area, and a greenbelt connection. Approving as to both form and content a special warranty deed to effect the conveyance, authorizing the mayor and city clerk respectively to execute and attest the warranty deed for and on behalf of the city of Boise City, Idaho, authorizing and directing Boise City staff to do all things necessary to close the transaction and to convey the property to the city of Eagle and establishing an effective date. ORD 19-21, an ordinance amending the development code regarding specific procedures, section 11-03-03, including changes to the posting requirements for specific application types, the radius of neighborhood meeting notice mailings, and the timeline for submittal of administrative variance applications. ORD 20-21, an ordinance repealing Boise City Code Title V, Chapter 1, and enacting a new Title V, Chapter 1 entitled Animals, providing a title, legal authority, scope, and purpose, defining terms, providing administrative provisions for animal control contractors and animal shelters, setting forth dog-specific licensing and regulations, prohibiting animals at large, setting forth non-commercial kennel licensing provisions, providing regulations for rabies vaccinations and animal quarantine, setting forth dangerous and potentially dangerous dog provisions, prohibiting certain exotic animals, setting forth animal nuisance regulations, prohibiting cruelty to animals, setting forth regulations regarding the use of animal traps, prohibiting individuals from commanding animal to attack, prohibiting the interference with officials performing duties under this chapter, providing prohibitions for driving or riding animals on undesignated public rights of way, setting forth Good Samaritan protections for animals rescued from unattended vehicles, providing and determination and forfeiture hearings and appeals, setting forth parental liability for minors owning animals, prohibiting the sale of commercially bred dogs and cats in retail stores, prohibiting the transfer of animals upon public property, setting forth the non-liability of the city for the acts of its contractors, providing penalty section, providing a summary of the ordinance, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. And next up, we have third reading.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I move that further reading of ordinances 12-21, 13-21, 14-21, and 15-21 be dispensed with, and the record reflect they've been read the third time in full.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Clerk, will you call the roll?
Clegg,
Yes.
Halliburton,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Woodings,
Yes.
Bajent.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries. ORD 12-21 and ordinance CAR 20-00015 for properly located at 3435 North 33rd Street, amending zoning classifications of the city of Boise City to change the classification of real property, particularly described in section 1 of this ordinance from R-1C, single family residential urban, to R-1MD, town lot residential with design review overlay, setting forth a reasoned statement in support of such zone change and providing an effective date. ORD 13-21 and ordinance CAR 20-00023 for property located at 1717 South Federal Way, amending zoning classifications of the city of Boise City to change the classifications of real property, particularly described in section 1 of this ordinance from medium density residential R-2 to multifamily residential with design review R-3D, setting forth a reasoned statement in support of such zone change and providing an effective date. ORD 14-21 and ordinance CAR 20-00016 Williams Family No. 2 Trust for property located at 6506 North Eugene Lane, annexing 2.9 acres of certain lands and territories situated in Ada County, Idaho, adjacent and contiguous to the corporate limits of the city of Boise City, establishing and determining the land use classification of said 2.9 acres as A-1 DA open lands with development agreement, setting forth a reasoned statement of support of such annexation and zone change. Directing the city engineer to lodge and file a legal description and map for said annexed lands and territory, providing that copies of this ordinance shall be filed with the Ada County Auditor, the Ada County Treasurer, the Ada County Assessor, the Ada County Recorder, and the Idaho State Tax Commission. Providing that a copy of said legal description and map of said annexed land and territory be recorded with the Ada County Recorder and filed with the Ada County Assessor and the Idaho State Tax Commission as required by law, and providing an effective date. ORD 15-21, an ordinance repealing the Boise City Code Title 9, Chapter 12, and replacing it with Boise City Code Title 9, Chapter 12, moving, deconstruction, or demolition of buildings, adopting standards for the moving, deconstruction, and demolition of buildings, including material and waste management practices and permitting, administrative procedures and penalties, approving a summary of the ordinance, and providing an effective date.
Madam Mayor, I move that ordinances 12-21, 13-21, 14-21, and 15-21 be approved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Clegg,
Yes.
Halliburton,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Woodings,
Yes.
Bajent.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Thank you. Next up, we have two public hearings this evening under new business. We'll start with, and nobody has signed up in advance. Are any of you here, are some of you the applicants? Great, or to testify. Okay, so what I'll do is nobody sign up in advance online, but with each item, I'll check online to see if anybody's here and you can raise your hand. We'll do the same here so folks can testify. And with that, Celine, go ahead.
Yes, Madam Mayor, council members, before you is a request to modify a development agreement for site layout, uses, and height on 2.13 acres in a C2D DA, general commercial with design review and a development agreement zone. The site is located within the Boise Town Square Mall Regional Activity Center along Cole Road, south of Emerald Street. The original development agreement will remain in effect for the previously developed properties outlined in blue, It did not allow for residential uses, restricted heights to 35 feet, and limited building footprints to 15,000 square feet for this area of the development. The modified development agreement would allow for multifamily residential and commercial uses on the subject property within a single structure and ties the development to the conceptual site plan associated with the approved PUD request. The PUD request was for a 5-story mixed-use building, including 136 multifamily units, 21,000 square feet of self-storage, and 1,000 square feet of retail space with underground parking. This would be the first project utilizing the housing bonus ordinance if this development agreement is modified tonight. It's located within a regional activity center, exceeds the requirements for gross floor area containing residential uses, and complies with the bedroom unit requirements. The new ordinance also provides a height increase from 45 to 55 feet, but due to the design, a height exception for 63 feet was required and approved. In conclusion, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the DA modification, and I'll stand for any questions.
We have questions for Celine? No, we don't. All right. And we'll go ahead then and hear from the applicant, Jay Gibbons. Welcome back.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Councilmen and Councilwomen. It's a pleasure to be here. I am the applicant of this project. It's mixed use, zone commercial. We do have 4 floors of apartments. I just want to give a general overview of the project, and then I'll stand for questions for the development agreement and what have you. I have a very brief presentation. Better start off with my name and address. Jay Gibbons, address is 2002 South Vista, Boise, represents South Beck and Baird. So we're here for a development agreement modification tonight. The Planning and Zoning Commission approved the PUD for the project on April 5th. We have 3 parcels. It's a little over 2 acres in size. There were 5 parcels involved in the original development agreement in 1999. It was the first phase was the hotel that's been built, the Marriott Residence Inn, and then it sat for a number of years. The development agreement was modified in 2003 to allow some other uses than originally planned, all commercial in nature, but building sizes and what have you. And then in 2013, it was modified again. And at that point, that's when the mattress firm came in. That was phase 2 of 5. It was built. And then there are the 3 parcels that our project involves, the last phase 3, 4, and 5 of the project. It's zone C2. We will be at design review next week. And of course, we're here for the development agreement. It's vacant. Our project involves a 5-story building that encompasses all 3. It's a big L-shaped building that will have, the first floor will have a self-storage unit portion, underground or parking under the podium, as well as a subterranean underneath that, subgrade parking to take care of our parking requirements. There will be a retail portion in the northwest corner, and then we'll have our rental office administrative management area on the first floor that'll cover rentals of the storage units. Now, the storage units are intended to be part of the rental agreements for the apartments themselves. So each apartment will have a storage unit or a series of storage units. Anything above that then will be potentially rented to the public. Then the 1,000 feet of retail space itself. We came in originally with a 4-story project, potential 5th story. Of course, the ordinance changed, which allowed us to add the 5th story. Now we get, instead of 90 apartments, now we have 136 1- and 2-bedroom apartments. That complies with your code change in March, because we are across the street from the mall, basically, and are attended by 7 different transit routes as well. So I had 2 neighborhood meetings on the project. The neighbors that showed up, they're in favor of the project because they would like to not see the vacant land anymore. It's taken, the development agreement will hopefully be amended for the last time that will allow the aspects of our project to be built. As part of that modification as well, we need to add the ownership of the mattress firm to that development agreement as a signatory, because there are some things that we're changing in the development agreement that affects them as far as right now, the current development agreement speaks to a common landscape management operation. Because there's 3 vacants, you've got the hotel and then they're all responsible for the landscape and the upkeep on the vacant land. So we'll change that. So they'll only have to maintain their own properties, and we'll maintain the 3 that we encompass. It also takes care of it was envisioned to have 3 different commercial buildings on those 3 parcels that we are going to occupy. And they had requirements that we couldn't sell mattresses and headboards because that's the mattress firms, and that's fine. So we have continued to agree. We've been in contact and working back and forth with the mattress firm ownership and their attorney to make sure that, you know, they've been a part of this and will continue to be a part of this going forward. Granted, assuming that council will grant us that approval. I'm on the wrong page. This is just this is our site plan. You can see this is the first floor, and it's part of it shaded. That is under the podium, first floor podium that has the gray boxes themselves are storage units. You have a certain amount of parking on the first floor. We maintain the current configuration of access. We have an access off of Cole. We have an access off of Denton. It has been paved for a number of years, even before they built the mattress firm. Those 2 accesses were paved. We will continue those open. The Denton access will go under the podium on the first floor, and that's public access both ways. We have a management office. It's kind of in the south end of the northwest corner. The retail's on the very northwest corner. On the second floor, where the apartments start, we'll have a clubhouse that opens on the deck, and there will be a big recreational amenity deck outside the clubhouse for all the residents as well. The reason we asked for the exception to the height limit, the building height limit, was our building is technically, the flat roof on top is 59 feet, but there's a parapet on each end that covers a stairwell, what have you, accent that is 4 feet, brings us to 63. So we asked and were granted that. Next. So our landscape plan, we intend to, break up the expansive walls of a 5-story building, also creating a nice street frontage on Denton itself on the north, and on Cole on the west, with the mall directly across the street to the west. We'll be working with the fire access, fire issues, solid waste, trash pickup, and what have you. There's some minor modifications once we get to the building construction document phase. But we're trying to be good neighbors with everybody, including the hotel. And to date, we haven't had any sent, even in the neighborhood meetings. Folks came to talk about parking and see what was really happening. A mall representative came to our very first meeting, and he was happy that we were going to bring some more residents into the area. So that's a positive. So these are our elevations. The top one is really the inside of the L. You can see on the second floor, the big glass area, that's the clubhouse. And then there's a deck that wraps around at that floor. There is some outside surface parking there on the northeast corner. All the rest of our parking is underground. The entrance to our subterranean parking is on the very end, just on the southeast corner. And of course, the southeast corner butts up to the off ramp from the connector to Cole Road there. The elevation on the bottom, you can see we have everybody has a private deck balcony, and a variety of treatments, textures, even on the parking, the podium. All of that is a decorative grading so that we maintain the airflow, but it also is not just a blank wall. It's also not just concrete, and we add some color and texture in that. And then of course there's windows on the retail on the northeast corner. And of course then the top picture, that's the backside that faces the hotel. And so they have the hotel parking lot has existing landscaping that will remain. And then of course we share that common area, and we will have foundation plantings and trees along that to break up the expanse as well. And then of course the bottom is the Cole frontage, and you can see the clubhouse on the second floor deck, and there will be tables, activity centers, what have you on throughout that deck for year-round use by the owners or by the residents. So our overall project, we worked with the city intensively to meet the vision of the comprehensive plan. We meet the development code as conditioned, of course, not many conditions from the planned use development application, luckily. And it's compatible with the existing and future planned uses in the area. We're, like I say, adjacent to the activity center, which is the mall, and all the business associated on that site exterior as well. We're bringing in a residential housing opportunity and supporting the commercial uses in the area. We have access, and we'll continue to have access to Cole and Denton Street both. We meet or exceed all the parking requirements for bicycle as well as vehicle parking. Plus we have all the pedestrian connections as
Sir,
well.
We've hit time, and I'm
that's-
going to ask you just to wrap up because council didn't have any questions for staff. This is,
And my next slide was thank you.
all right, thank you. Any questions for the applicant?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I don't know if this is for the applicant or ACHD. First of all, let me say I'm very excited about this project. I think it's a great use for our housing density. It's a great place for additional housing. Just a couple of notes. One is that, and this slide shows this perfectly, at Denton, there's also an entrance to the mall parking lot. That entrance is quite well aligned with the transit center at the mall. My guess is that if I'm a resident and I get off a bus, I'm probably going to be less likely to walk up to the stoplight at the entrance to the mall off the freeway, and more likely to try and cross at Denton, which would be legally allowed because it is an intersection, but it has a median. So my question is, has anyone talked to ACHD or VRT or both of them to see if it's possible to put actually an enhanced crossing there, perhaps with a refuge island, given the current configuration of that intersection?
Madam Chair,
Is-
Councilman Clegg, Councilperson Clegg. Our conversations with ACHD previously is basically the two streets are improved to their ultimate, so that they didn't have any additional requirements for us per se, but they didn't say, we really didn't touch on the pedestrian connection at Denton, and that is from a vehicular access. It's a funky, the way so Denton, you can turn southbound on Cole because it's like the turn lane, they have a protected lane. You can go south without a light and then merge. But I will pledge to go talk to ACHD during our next phase of development of the construction plans to see if we can get some sort of, or if they would warrant some sort of pedestrian connection at that point, certainly.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I will ensure that VRT also is aware of this. There potentially is funding for these kinds of things through some of the grants that they get. So it might be a partnership. Appreciate that.
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I really support Council President Clegg's recommendation on having an additional pedestrian crossing there. My question is like not fully related to any of this, but maybe you might have some insight. Why are there so many mattress firms these days? It feels like they're on every corner. Do you have any insight on that?
Madam Mayor, Councilperson Woodings, I don't per se, but I have the same questions, but I've been told that they kind of overbuilt at a particular time. I will say that they did have a customer when I went out to post the DR notices at the first of the week. They did actually have 2 customers that morning at about 10 o'clock. So that was a positive. You don't see many people out there. You know, there are so many, they're not only mattress firm buildings themselves, but there are so many people buying mattresses off online these days that, you know, that the brick and mortar stores are struggling to keep up. So hopefully, you know, this one will too. We'll see. I don't really have an answer for you.
Thank you for humoring my question. I am also very supportive of additional housing opportunities around shopping centers, having spent the early part of my career working at Boise Town Square. I think it's really great that people will be able to live near where they work. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, thank you. Thank you so much for your presentation, Mr. Gibbons. I have a question about what you think the units will go for, since we talked at our work session a lot about affordable housing options. Just wondering what these are going to look like.
Madam Chair, Councilperson Sanchez, Celine reached out a couple of weeks ago and asked me for that. And my client, the property owner, graciously submitted those numbers, and they're a projection at this point. No idea what kind of market value, and we of course fall under the guise of that piece of that ordinance is just its location or relationally to the mall more so than affordable housing. I know that, you know, you're curious about that for sure. What the information I got back from my owner that I provided to Celine, I believe the 2 bedrooms were somewhere in the range of 1,500 or something, and the 1 bedrooms were, because there are 2 different sizes of 1 bedrooms, it was like 11 or 1,000 and 1,250 or something to that effect. I guess by the time we get it built, we'll see what affordable is.
No, I appreciate that. And just to echo my colleagues, I appreciate that this project is happening. I think the location is really great for folks. I know I'm somebody who drove the same car for nearly 20 years until the wheels fell off. And I always looked for housing that would be near where I worked, just in case that happened sooner than I was ready for it to happen. And so I think it's going to make a lot of people happy to have that housing option there. So thank you.
We hope so too.
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
So also supportive of the development. I think it's a great location. And I'm excited that you were the first person to use our housing bonus ordinance. And I guess that's what my question is about. I know that we were able to get some additional housing on there. I'm curious if being able to use the housing bonus ordinance and that additional housing allowed you to improve the development in other areas. And so I'm just kind of trying to get some feedback, I guess, from you of like how the housing bonus ordinance was helpful for you on this project.
Madam Mayor, Councilman Halbert, I believe that, so our project struggled with the density on 2 acres, even with 90 originally, you know, in a 4-story development on 3 floors was, we were still just about going to have to get a variance for the density because of the small acreage. it was an opportune time for you to change the ordinance and that we could take advantage of that. You know, what it allows us to do is up our density, have more residents that will support the facilities, the recreation, the business. So we'll have, of course, the like I say, the clubhouse and the recreation area, but we're also going to have business opportunities within there, or business center opportunities on different floors that, you know, the residents also have access to those activities. And so we've enhanced a lot of things within the building itself for the use of the residents, because more will support that.
Madam Mayor, just a quick follow-up. I appreciate that, and I'm glad that it made it easier. I guess I'm also curious, by being able to add those additional housing, you know, hopefully that makes the whole project pencil out a little bit more, right? And does that also, do you feel like that also translates out to making some of those units more affordable than they would have been had it been a smaller development?
Madam Chair, Councilman Halliburton, I believe that it does in the end, because yeah, the extra units themselves help this pencil, because the way that the construction costs are going up and up, they're skyrocketing at the moment. You know, every month we are unable to develop, it's hard to keep up with those costs. But just that said, with the higher number of units available, yeah, that's, you know, and they are, and the units themselves are anticipated to be not beginning level. They'll have high-end finishes and appurtenances themselves. So it's, I hope that it will pencil better, but I hope that in that also opens opportunities that we can work within the range of housing costs to bring others in, you know, diversify the population base in that regard as a resident.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for providing that extra information.
All right, we're going to go ahead and open this up because this is a public hearing. Are any of you here to testify on this item? Oh, all right, is anybody online?
Madam Mayor, I have a Kendall Hansey that is raised their hand to speak.
Okay, great. Hi, Kendall.
And Kendall, I just gave you permission. We should be able to hear you now.
We can't hear you, Kendall.
There we go. Madam Mayor, Kendall just unmuted.
Oh, Kendall didn't mean to raise her hand. All right, thanks, Kendall. No, we're not going to force you to testify. All right, with that, if nobody else is here to testify for this, I believe we can close the public hearing and have a motion in front of us.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to move to approve CAR 21-00005, project at 580 North Cole Road, modification to a development agreement for permitted uses and site layout on 2.13 acres in a C-2DDA zone, general commercial with design review and development agreement.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further conversation?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
no further conversation, just a quick comment. First, it's great that you used the housing bonus ordinance. And I wonder if now is the time to tell you, sir, that we're not actually giving prizes out for being first, but we're glad you're an early adopter anyway.
Okay, thank you. Yes, thanks. And thanks for your comments and feedback on the use of it, because you are indeed the first that's made it this far in front of us. Clerk, will you call the roll?
Clegg,
Yes.
Halliburton,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Woodings,
Yes.
Bajent.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, Celine. Have a good night. All right, Cody's with us for our last item, CAR 20-3. And right now, are you here to testify on this item? Great. All right. Anybody online?
Madam Mayor, I have 4 people online, but I'm not sure if they want to speak on the
Okay.
item.
All right, we'll ask after Cody and the applicant present.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. This application includes 2 items, both a rezone and preliminary plat. Both are related to a multifamily development located at the northwest corner of Philippi and Grover Street. The 2 3/4 acre site already supports 16 units and 4 buildings. This proposal is to add 12 units and attached townhomes. The proposal is that the rezone and subdivision were heard along with planned unit development by the Planning Commission in April this year. The decision on that planned unit development was not appealed, so it's not before you this evening. The property is currently zoned R1C or single family residential. And again, the proposal is to change that zoning to R2D or medium density residential with design review. The existing zoning allows up to 8 units an acre, where the proposed allows as many as 14.5 per acre. As you saw in the packet, the commission did find the rezone to be consistent with the standards for approval. The property is designated compact on the land use map, and the R2 zone is one of several permissible zones with that designation. The commission also found the location along a transit route to support that increased density. Now with the rezone, the applicant again would like to add 12 attached townhomes to the units that are already in place. The new units will be accessed by extending an existing service drive into the site. No new curb cuts to the public street are proposed. The applicant is also proposing to replace attached sidewalk along each street with detached facilities, and then to dedicate a public pathway easement along the Reidenbach Canal to the north. That's actually a great start to potential start for a path system along that canal as additional redevelopment occurs in the future. As you can see in the aerial photo, there are a number of mature existing trees on site. The new homes will require the removal of about 41 caliper inches, but the plan is to install 56 inches, meeting the mitigation requirements. I would also note that a number of them, or the majority of the trees located along the perimeter of the site will be able to be preserved. Like as you saw on the record, there were some concerns expressed with the project at the commission. Those were primarily focused on adequacy of parking and then the amenities in the project. All required amenities for both automobiles and bicycles have been provided. That includes 54 spaces for cars, where 51 were required. More significant, 1 bicycle parking space for each unit will be included. That accommodates the required parking for both the new and brings the existing multifamily units up to code. Amenities actually include playground equipment, a barbecue area, and small dog park. Also, the applicant, again, has agreed to dedicate that public pathway easement along the northern boundary of the site and improve a bus stop at the corner of the property. That exceeds all requirements for amenities for a project of this size. We do acknowledge that this will be a change to the neighborhood, but as indicated in the packet, it does meet the objective standards of the development code, and the increase in density that's proposed this evening is supported by the comprehensive plan. Just as a reminder, the plan unit development was not appealed, so it is only the subdivision and rezone that's before you this evening. The commission did find both consistent with the ordinance standards and recommended approval. We are recommending council do the same and approve both the rezone and subdivision this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Cody?
Madam
Mayor.
Mayor.
Sure. Let's go first with Councilmember Bajent, then Clegg.
Cody, thank you. One of the issues in the planning and zoning hearing was the concern from one of the commissioners that basically the project had not been adequately fleshed out, that there were not elevations and that there was no apparent management plan for how the property would be managed. This commissioner expressed concerns that, I don't know if putting the cart before the horse is the right phrase, but concerns that all of these things may not be adequately handled in design review. And I wondered if you just had any comments on that concern.
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Bajent, certainly, where this required both the plan unit development and the subsequent design review application, there were elevations included in the packet presented to the commission that were somewhat conceptual, which does occur. That detailed review of those units, landscaping, things like that will be handled, as is always the case, by design review.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, Council President.
Thank you. Cody, it appears to me right now there is an attached sidewalk along the southern edge of this property. It looks to me like on the plans that they are proposing to detach that sidewalk as they rebuild that curb and add the new parking around the new proposed building number 4. I'm asking about that because currently everything west of there does not have sidewalk, at least as it appears on Google Map today. And I just want to make sure I'm reading that right and that it is going to be a detached one. And, I think this brings up the question of, it's great. I love it. We all love it. But it makes it really, it creates a situation that will be hard to replicate going west. And I just think it's time we start thinking about that again as more of this redevelopment begins to happen.
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Clegg, certainly given the substantial frontage here, there is enough, I guess, from our perspective, room to transition from the detached back to an attached sidewalk. But certainly on a site that has much more limited frontage, we are constrained or challenged by those situations. But we can certainly explore that further as we work through design review. But it is conditioned to be detached on this site.
Great. And I wasn't suggesting we shouldn't detach it. I was just suggesting that we've not been very successful offsite on these, getting those sidewalks extended, and that it might be time to rethink how we approach that, because I think we're going to see more of this as this housing crisis continues.
All right. Further questions? And with that, I saw the applicant, Chris Todd. I noticed that Chris said he was online and available if needed. Are either of you connected to the applicant? Nope. Okay. So there are 2 people here that wish to testify. Chris, why don't you go ahead if you're still with us? You could let us know if you're I should have asked the former applicant the same thing. If you're in agreement with the staff report, if you have anything further you'd like to respond to based on the questions that you've heard already from council.
Mayor, Council, Chris Todd with Green Mountain Resources and Planning, business address of 53 North Plummer, Star, Idaho. Here on behalf of the LaFeast family. The family is the owner of the property. They're also going to be the developer and builder on this property. They're surrounding themselves with a good team. Moving forward, we're excited to bring this product to this area and to this corner of Philippi and Grover. We feel that working with staff, fire department, public works, we came up with a very good plan in order to introduce more of a transit oriented type of infill development. We think that we could take advantage of, number one, the public transportation system along Philippi. And then also, in the front of building number 4, there was a comment there, that open space in that area, we're looking to make into kind of a little bit of an amenity. It's where the kids get picked up for their school bus. So that's why that lot is configured the way it is. We understand that we'll be going through design review to look at some of the details of the landscape plan, the layout. We will work with the city in regards to the detached sidewalk and how that transitions as it moves west from Councilwoman Clegg. Last thing is we agree with the staff report. Look forward to moving forward with the city, and I'll stand for any questions.
Question for you. It doesn't look as though there are questions for you right now. Chris, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go ahead and open it up to the public. You're welcome to come up here and testify.
Madam Mayor.
Welcome.
Council, thank you very much. I'm Susan Bush. I live directly across Grover Street. I'm at 505 South Philippi, but they have been my next door. The apartment complex has been my next door neighbor for the last 38 years. And I'm going to tell you, the group in there right now is the best neighbors we've had in 38 years. It's full of refugees. It is full of children. If you look at the design, the map's gone now. There's that great big horseshoe in area play, it's a play area. And we are very used to the neighbors. I talk to them all. I walk my dog. The kids play out there. They play, they play, they play, they play hours upon hours. They play until the sun goes down. And what I'm afraid of is, and we've put up with, I don't even want to describe the number of different groups we've had in there where the cop cars were there 4 and 5 times a week. The cops are never there. Instead, we have the children laughing, they play, because they can come out their front door, they can get together and they play and they laugh. And in the fall, they come over and ask me if the apples on my tree are ripe yet and can they have some. And my objection to this is the infill toward the back. Yeah, I understand that, and other places, but please do not take away that green space in the middle. Because they need enough place to kick a soccer ball. They have, we have soccer games going constantly. They worn the grass off the top, but they get out there and play. And I've talked to the neighbors. I talked to neighbors down Scott Street. I've talked to the neighbors down Grover Street. I've talked to neighbors on the other side of Grover Street. And there's 2 things we don't want to see. We don't want to see the refugees. It's all upgraded, so pretty. And then all of a sudden, all of our refugees that have not caused us any problems with the police. We've not had theft problems. You might have a little trash on the streets because kid dropped things, but the worst thing I've had is I had to kick them back a basketball. We love these kids and we don't want to see the refugees have to go. But I'm frustrated with the infill, we do infill, but we forget that kids need to be able to step out their front door and play. Now, the school is gone. We had the school at Franklin that gave them a playground, but it's not there anymore. Yeah, you built a city park, but you're also going to build 200 and some odd housing units right there. That's not a place for these children to play. It might be, and being refugees, their families keep them much closer to home. But these are nice kids. These are really, really nice kids. I'm not kidding. They do come over. Can we have some apples? Yes, you can have some apples. We don't want to see these kids gone. We don't want to see the refugees kicked out. I don't mind the infill. And the one thing I had missed earlier, they're talking about putting a walking path along that canal. There are canals I walk my dog on all the time in that area. I walk on, if you go farther south, it's a slow moving canal. The canal, as it moves right in that area, it's fast. There's canals that slow and your dog can jump in and swim. There's my dog, there's an access to that canal on the other side of Grover. My 90-pound healthy lab jumped in and he barely got out. That is not a canal that should be accessed with roads that people walk along. If you look at the history of this property, the sad part of this property is a child drowned in that canal when this complex was opened. And that's one of the things that broke the heart of the person who built it originally, or so I've told, is they didn't fence it enough and the child jumped in there. You jump into that canal there, like I said, my 90-pound Labrador barely made it out. That does not need to be there because we don't need to drown a child.
Right, thank you.
And so that's it. And as for adequate parking, I don't know. But the kids get out on Grover Street with their bikes. If you want to go on Grover from Philippi to Curtis, drive it really slow if school's out, because you're apt to find a 3-year-old on a bike and training wheels on that street. They stay on the sidewalk, but they don't stay on the sidewalk, but we know they don't. So yeah, I took a left. I pulled out of my driveway, went up, went to take a left on Grover, got around and went, and then the kids all scattered back. They're good about it. And I slowly drove through, but I must have counted 7 to 10 bicycles along that stretch of kids just running their bikes up and down. They're having a great time. They need a place to play, just being able to come out their front door and play. They need a place to ride their bikes. And so, like I said, There's parts of this, the back corner back by the canal. Yeah, if you built there, but please fence off that from the canal. We don't need to go along that canal. That canal is too dangerous. It moves too fast in there. People need a place.
Ma'am, I've let you go over
I'm
quiet
sorry.
ways.
I'm sorry. I didn't pay
Madam
attention.
Mayor.
I keep thinking you're almost done, but now I've just got to cut
No,
you off.
you're
I'm
fair.
sorry
I
about that.
went over.
Okay, I really appreciate your
Thank you.
stories.
Thank
But
you.
you've got a question here from Councilmember Halliburton.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I actually don't have a question. I just wanted to say thank you for being a good neighbor to those kids. I know them pretty well. Those bikes that they're riding around are ones that we've helped provide over the years. So thanks for being a good
Part of the
neighbor.
Boise Bike Project.
Yep.
So thank you.
Thank you.
You've got one more person. And if anybody's online that wanted to testify on this, please raise your hand now so we know.
Madam Mayor, before we go there, could I just, I want to make sure I understood correctly from staff something.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you. Cody, what's before us is the rezone, but not the PUD or subdivision. Am I correct?
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Clegg, that's correct. The rezone and the preliminary plat, the PUD that established the setbacks, open space and things like that is not before you this evening.
And the
Okay.
reason that's not before us, just to clarify for the public, is because it wasn't appealed. And so the plans as presented by the applicant have been approved. And so it's a matter of the plat and the rezone that we're considering this evening.
Madam Mayor, that's correct.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, given the prior testimony, I just wanted to ensure that I had that right. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, council members, my name is Jason Bowl. I live at 510 South Philippi. I'm kitty corner from the property. I have a child that plays over there in the field. I am disappointed for the loss of open space. I do think there's an opportunity for the applicant to move the pavilion closer to the road, provide a sheltered bus stop for the kids, as well as provide some open space. But more importantly, I'm here before you understanding the PUD isn't up for discussion or consideration, but the subdivision is. And part of the subdivision approval process, there are required improvements. And as your code states, pedestrian access is one of those listed items that is required. There is an opportunity here with the dedication. What's required at this point is a dedication of a 10-foot easement for a trail along the canal. I feel it would be an extremely sad and missed opportunity to not require those improvements be made at this time. As you are aware, the issues of getting trails constructed and easements at a later date are difficult things. Cassia Park, I think, is a good example of what the city has gone through to try to get a trail constructed in an easement that has been dedicated. You've recently invested quite a bit of money in a new trail plan and in working with the irrigation districts to get trails along the irrigation canals. This stretch of property represents 30% of the whole between Philippi and Curtis. Granted, I'm not a fan of building sidewalks that go nowhere, but this is a trail, it's a pedestrian access that would not only benefit the public in the future, but it would definitely benefit the subdivision and the residents at this time. As you've heard, kids ride their bikes. Understanding there is going to be a detached sidewalk, which will be an improvement, but this would also provide an area for those small children to ride their bikes, to ride their skateboards, their scooters, and as well as access the backside of the lots where those new homes are going. So I feel that there is an opportunity here to, based on Boise City Code and required improvements, to add that pedestrian access be constructed as a condition of approval before the final plat be recorded.
Thank you. I appreciate your comment about sidewalks to nowhere, because so often over the years we hear, well, we shouldn't put the sidewalk in because it goes nowhere. And then the next developed property is redeveloped and there's not a sidewalk next to them because we didn't require it. And that person says, well, a sidewalk goes nowhere. Then the next redevelopment occurs, sidewalk goes nowhere, and then you have no sidewalk to anywhere. And so, appreciate that it's the puzzle pieces that as things redevelop, it's something we got to look at.
So,
Thanks.
and Madam Chair, if I can, those parcels along Grover, they are large parcels that have smaller single family homes. They will be before you soon. The parcels to the west, they will be before you soon as they redevelop. And this is a great starting point to ensure that we get an amenity for the public, like I said, for the public, but also that really benefits the residents, the future residents in this development.
Thanks. Any questions?
Madam Mayor.
Oh, yep, you've got Council President Clegg.
Thank you. Jason, real quick question. You mentioned that you think a small redesign of that area out front could result in more open space for the kids to play in, even with the additional building. As I understand it, the shelter they're building is for the school bus stop and not for the BRT bus. Is that correct?
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Clegg, that is correct. They are proposing to make improvements for the VRT bus stop, which is on Philippi. However, I believe they're proposing a barbecue pavilion amenity in the middle of the open space towards the back. If that were to be moved out towards the road along Grover, it could be utilized as a barbecue facility as well as a place for the children to stand in the rain and snow, because it is right there along the sidewalk.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Thanks.
Mhm.
All right, is there anybody else to testify?
No, Madam Mayor.
All right, so that's it for public testimony. Would the applicant like to have any closing remarks? Hi there.
Hi, Chris Todd again. Thank you for the comments from the public. We understand, the changes that we're proposing. We do feel that the new amenities that we're putting into this 2.75 acre property is an improvement on what is currently there. The design with the drive aisles and parking, we went through a couple different configurations with that, with staff as well as say fire department and the trash company as well, to make sure that all the code was met with those designs and spacings and distances and corners. The gazebo barbecue area that's in the center of the project, we feel is a good centrally located area that these residents will be able to use. It's centrally located away from the road on purpose to have some more safety and also to be closer to the actual residences and not near the parking area. We set back a playground equipment area along kind of the north side of Philippi, and then the dog park open area, excuse me, on the northwest corner. As for the walkway or on the north side, discussions with staff has led to at least our understanding that this easement or dedication of the easement to the city for the future connection between east and west would help in the facilitation of the construction of that in the future. At this time, or at least the way that I was explained to it was that the city has the plan and also the relationship with New York Canal Company in order to go through the process of what that looks like, knowing that it's not something that we could just go in and construct right away. As for the areas for kids to play soccer, yes, the front area by the road is changing into an open space with a bus stop area. On the west side or the southwest side, there is some open play area there as well. And regionally, looking at actual soccer fields and regional spaces that have the space for that type of activity, we're hoping that, or we know that the Orchard and the Orchard Center, Orchard Activity Center will be a good amenity and regional area for those activities to be played. I'll stand for any more questions.
Thank you. All right. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Todd, thanks for being here, and I appreciate your comments. Certainly support the easement for the canal and understand that at this point, that's quite an improvement over what we do have. As you, and I also appreciate the care you've clearly given thinking about how to design this site and utilize, the space as well as you could, saving the trees, et cetera. It does seem like there are a couple of places that you could perhaps put enough grass to play soccer, one being on the southwest side behind that first existing building, and one on the northeast side behind the existing building. URA haven't approved PUD. We're not here to question that, but as you go through design review, I think if you could just keep those comments in mind and make sure that there's some uninterrupted grass somewhere. If these kids are already using it quite a bit, probably be a great amenity for them.
Sure, and we'll definitely keep that in mind during the design review. Looking at it, I think the optimal space that will be non-disturbed as we're going through this process, in my opinion, would be that southwest corner, and we'll make note of that to bring that up with design review through that landscape plan.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, if no further questions, I'll go ahead and close the hearing.
Madam Mayor,
Oh,
just a question for staff real quick.
Sure.
So I just, to the applicant's comments, and then also one of the folks who testified tonight, we do want to preserve that easement going forward, but right now at a point, because we haven't completed the master plan, which we hope to have completed by the end of the year, and we don't necessarily have an agreement with the irrigation company at this point, that really wouldn't be something that we would be able to really accomplish at this point, or would, and I guess, so that's one question. And then the other question would be, and not knowing when the other ones would go in, we don't know if we have the ability to really plan for any sort of prioritization with our pathways plan yet, because it hasn't been constructed. Does that make sense?
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Halliburton, I believe so. It is conditioned, or we're requiring the easement be dedicated at this time. And then the construction would occur as we have more clarity on the larger pathway. But certainly the easement is required at this time, and we'll need to have documentation of that before we allow construction to proceed.
Yeah, and Madam Mayor, just to follow up there, I guess the clarification between the applicant and kind of what we've heard is that to actually construct it, so we know that we've got the easement, but to actually construct it, there's a whole nother layer of things that we would have to evaluate: the type of pathway, fencing, agreements with the irrigation district, all these types of things that prevent us from actually being able to, pave it or put it in the pathway at this point.
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Halliburton, that's correct.
Okay, great.
Great, we are closing the public hearing.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I move to approve CAR 21-0003. 5454 West Grover Street, a rezone of approximately 2.75 acres from R-1C, single family residential, 8 units per acre, to R-2D, medium density residential with design review, 14.5 units per acre.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
the sticking point in my mind on this is what to do with improving the easement for the pathway. I'm very sympathetic to the mayor's comments about sidewalks to nowhere, and the domino effect of not building sidewalks to nowhere results in no sidewalks.
But since I've been referenced, council member, I'd just like to say that I should have said I appreciate those comments, because all too often P&Z is asked to install sidewalks or to not require sidewalks be installed, and they are pushed to comply with that. This is an easement, and so it exists for us to do it later versus not having it at all.
Fair enough. My concern here is that if we were to say the pathway should be constructed now, I don't think that there's a plan or a standard that it would be constructed to. We don't know whether it will be paved. We don't know whether it will be fenced. We don't know whether it will be a dirt path. And so it's not the case, unlike a sidewalk, where we have a template that we could plug this into and sort of get ahead of the work. It's a different kind of animal because, as the mayor pointed out, we have the right to construct there, but we do not yet have the plan for what will be constructed. So that was my only sticking point. I agree with the motion as it's framed without that requirement right now, and I'll be supporting it.
All right. I don't think I'll be voting on this, but I do want to thank the applicant for the work on the easement and staff for making sure that that got done. Because this is, pathways along canals are a priority for us. You look at this map, it's over time, as this area redevelops, it will provide an incredible access point east to west for everyone, including all those kiddos, ma'am, that you so wonderfully described. And I really appreciate that too. So thanks for coming out. And with that, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Clegg,
Yes.
Halliburton,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Woodings,
Yes.
Agent,
Yes.
all in favor, motion carries.
Thank you. And with that, there's nothing further to come. Oh, there is.
Madam Mayor, there's also a subdivision that goes along with this.
Yep, sorry.
Madam Mayor, I move to approve SUB 21-00014, Boise City preliminary plat, SUB 21-00014, Grover Townhomes at 5454 West Grover Street, preliminary plat for a residential subdivision comprised of 4 existing multifamily buildings on individual lots, 12 single-family townhome lots, and 1 common lot on 2.41 acres in a proposed R-2D zone, medium-density residential with design review.
Second.
Motion a second. Clerk, will you call the roll?
Clegg,
Yes.
Halliburton,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Woodings,
Yes.
Agent,
Yes.
all in favor, motion carries.
Excellent, thank you. And if there's nothing further to come before council,
Madam Mayor, move to adjourn.
Second.
we have a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening.
May the fourth be with you.